I was always interested in making money. I had a little tuck shop when I was at school in my locker, and I'd buy penny sweets, but I would sell them for a penny. So it's completely pointless, but I kind of enjoyed that. At the end of the day, we want the same thing. We want an easy life. We do want to make a little bit of money, but we do want to leave the world a better place. Yeah, I'm 38 now. When we started this company, we were 28.
Yeah.
You know, anyone who's gone through their 20s will know that's when you change probably the most. I've created this like pork crackling opportunity. I'm flavouring pork crackling, I'm double cooking it, I've got this brand that I think will sell. If you focus all your attention on the actual product and worry about if it tastes good, looks good, does good, and then if that sells on its own, and then you add a really cool brand to it with all the kind of fluffiness that a brand brings, and that then surely sells really, really well.
Our eating habits are changing. We're demanding better dining experiences, and the food market has never been so competitive. Starting and succeeding with a food business is challenging, but some determined and passionate entrepreneurs are flourishing. These people have big dreams, big passion, and big drive. They are disruptors, change makers, and innovators. They see a positive future. Many say that food business is too risky. Some say that it has huge rewards. Are you up for the challenge? I really enjoyed sitting down with Nick Coleman today from Snaffling Pig. It's so obvious that he lives and breathes the brand, and he's done phenomenally well, starting the business with £500 and growing it to have numerous different products, brand extensions, and so many different distribution revenue streams. And I learned so much really about leveraging the brand, the power of the brand, building a following, and yeah, really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Nick Coleman. So it'd be great to start on your earlier years growing up, and I suppose to get into your entrepreneurial background. Like, did you always have an entrepreneurial mindset, you think, or did you have entrepreneurial ventures when you were young, or how did that develop?
Interesting. Are people born entrepreneurs, or are they made? This is the big unanswered question, really. I think for me, I was always interested in making money. I had a little tuck shop when I was at school in my locker, and I'd buy penny sweets, but I would sell them for a penny. So it's completely pointless, but I kind of enjoyed that. At university, I bought some oranges and I hired an orange juice machine, and I kind of made fresh orange juice and I put them in bottles, and I'd sell those for like £1.50. But I think I worked out it was costing me like £3.75 to make each bottle, so wow. I was losing money on that one. At least I was breaking even on the first one. And then when I left uni, I bought a couple of houses and rented them out to students. The bank at the time wouldn't lend me any money, so I pretended to get married and pretended to buy a car, and that gave me the loans to be able to buy the houses, to put deposits down on the house and then rent them out. And then through what I called Orange Grove Properties, which was like a made-up name, I kind of learned a little bit about business and how actually you do need to make a little bit of profit. You have to good cash flow. And then from that, I went and worked at M&S and was a store manager and a commercial manager. And I think I realised at M&S that what is the point of going to work every single day? Like, what are you actually doing? And it kind of dawned on me that all I was doing was adding value to shareholders. There was no kind of personal gain that I was really getting out of it. I was learning, but if I stopped learning, I wouldn't have got as excited about it. So I think there was a switch then that decided, I need to be a master of my own destiny here, and if I'm going to create wealth, I need to create it for myself. Okay. But that was kind of my first business was I was more focused on making money, and I've learned that's not actually it's not why you should go into business, because you very rarely make money. You need to have bigger things, a bigger purpose. Sure.
It's interesting. I think it's probably like half split from the people I speak to. Like, a lot of people they're looking for money and they're looking to purchase tangible things for themselves. But then the other side have this vision or mission that they're trying to achieve. Or I think even deeper, they're trying to, fulfill something in themselves, or feel validated, or feel
you're right.
kind of get credibility or something. It is, yeah.
And I think you have to go on the journey to realise what you actually want out of it. And I don't think there's anything wrong in starting out wanting to make money. but I don't think that will actually guide you in the right way. I think you'll make the wrong decision. If you're so focused on how do I make profit, then you might not necessarily think about like the bigger picture. And actually, when you have those really dark moments in business that we'll all be having, those kind of sleepless nights, if all your motivation is money, it's going to be really difficult to get through that. But if you're motivated by this deeper purpose, this kind of vision, this this want to make the world a better place, whatever it may be, then I think that's going to help you get through those moments and kind of fight the good fight.
Okay, makes sense. So tell us about your medical supplies business. Was the business, I guess, that overlapped Snaffling Pig. How did that come about, and why go into medical supplies after, I guess, you had the flats or the houses you had?
Yeah.
What attracted you to that industry?
Yeah.
How did that go? And then how did that lead into Snaffling Pig?
So medical supermarket is what we called it. It started about 10 years ago. And I worked at Marks and Spencer, loved my time there, but had this kind of epiphany that what's the point of working and just growing other people's wealth? I need to grow my own. So I left Marks Spencer and I went to a company called BMI Healthcare, which is a hospital group. And it was there that I kind of started to think about, and what my job was to buy and sell medical supplies. And it was there that I started to think, well, actually, maybe I could go and do my own business. But I did not want to do it on my own. I don't have all the skills needed to run a business on my own, and I thought it would be quite a lonely experience. I wanted to do it with somebody else, and I was just really fortunate that there was a guy working at that company called Udi who we just got on really well, and we just kind of every time we went to make coffees, like you kind of go and grab 15 minutes, you go and have a chat, and you talk about kind of what's your values, what are your purpose, what are your drive, what do you want to achieve, and we just hit it off, and we decided that we would go and start a medical company. Why medical? Well, we were buying medical products for this company, BMI, and we decided, well, we can still buy medical products outside of our job, and we'll just sell them to medical professionals. So it's kind of doing what we're already doing, but making a little bit of money on the side for it.
Okay.
So I didn't have the guts to quit my job, so I wrote the letters, and Udi handed them in and did the formal work that we're now leaving. And he then went on holiday for 2 weeks whilst I hit the phones and did some cold calling and tried to sell medical products to GP surgeries. And then he came back 2 weeks later refreshed, and he was kind of the face of the company out now on the road, and I was the guy cold calling, and that is a tough job, like constantly on the phones, like just being rejected like one after the other. And it just kind of spiraled from there, really. And we started to sell medical supplies, we sold stationery, housekeeping, very kind of commodity-based products, not our own brand. We were selling other people's brands, but we were learning about business, and we were learning the art of what to buy, when to sell, who to sell to, logistics behind that, stock volumes, cash flow. So it was an amazing lesson for us, and that business is still around today and doing really well.
Okay, and I guess them early days you learned to work together as well.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, having a business partner is like a marriage. It's you really have to work on it, and there are times where we fall out, there are times we argue and disagree, but I think the thing that really binds us is we have this love for each other, like a platonic love that kind of holds us together, but we appreciate what each other does, and I think we take time out to kind of tell each other that. And I think at the end of the day, we want the same thing. We want an easy life. We do want to make a little bit of money, but we do want to leave the world a better place, and we want to spend time with our families. And because both of us are trying to achieve that, us having disagreements at work is only just trying to get to that result quicker. That's all it is. So
sure. So it sounds like your fundamental aims are very well aligned.
Definitely, yeah.
What about your skill sets? So is that just purely coincidental that you complemented each other, or is that something you worked on to kind of find your kind of focus in a business?
Yeah, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who say to me, how do I find like the best co-founder? It's really, really tough. It's like, well, how do you find a husband and wife partner? It's kind of a bit of luck. It's a sliding door moment. What happens if I hadn't have got that job, or what happens if I hadn't wanted to get a coffee that particular morning, hadn't run into Udi? So I think Udi and I started out having very similar skill sets. We were both buyers. We both had confidence in ourselves, in people. We I'd say we're people. We can walk into a room and we can just get on with anyone in the room. We definitely lacked kind of a deeper financial knowledge, so that was kind of a skill set that we needed. But we were kind of driven by this core belief, these set of values. As the business has progressed, we have absolutely slotted into where we feel comfortable. Udi is phenomenal at sales. He is relentless. He just keeps like knocking those door downs, and he's a really good people person, internal people person. Like he can motivate the staff, he can get the culture going in the company. My skill set is I'm a bit more of the maverick. Like I'm the guy who likes to set things on fire and see what happens and learn from it. And I make loads of mistakes. So I'm kind of the guy who's constantly pushing things forward, and Udi's the kind of guy who's there, kind of sweeping things up and making sure that we're our sales are growing and we're kind of hitting those top line figures.
Okay.
And that, by us kind of fitting into that kind of more self-aware piece where we really feel comfortable in the skin we're in, has enabled us to kind of grow even more.
Sure. So it is really like a marriage. You're finding your way and making it work somehow.
It is. And I'm 38 now. When we started this company, we were 28.
Yeah.
Anyone who's gone through their 20s will know that's when you change probably the most. I've absolutely grown into this character I am today. I'm not the same person 10 years ago.
Okay.
I hope maybe I'll keep evolving, or maybe it will slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I know you initially started Snaffling Pig yourself, while Udi was, I guess, focusing more on the medical supplies business.
Yeah.
I know you started it with £500 as a bet. How did that all come about? And I guess, how did you start it with £500? Is the key question.
Yeah. So the reason that came out is that we got medical supermarkets about £3 million turnover, and I got bored. And I said to Uds, if I don't go and do something new, I'm going to go and become a BA pilot. I actually tried to become a BA pilot, believe it or not, and I'll be a terrible, terrible pilot. Never put an entrepreneur in the pilot seat. You'll ignore the manual, and we've got an issue. Let's ignore process. Just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I decided that I wanted to take 500 quid out of medical supermarket. And Udi was taking 500 quid out as well, and we would go start a brand new enterprise on our own, and we would then kind of present back in 6 months' time to say what we'd created. And I did work on it about 6 months whilst working on medical supermarket, and then when I came back to Udi and said, look, I've created this like pork crackling opportunity. I'm flavouring pork crackling, I'm double cooking it, I've got this brand that I think will sell. I actually want to now leave medical supermarket and go do this full time. That did cause a bit of a rift between Udi and I, because quite rightly Udi's like, well, hang on, you can't leave me. We've done 5 years of work together. You can't suddenly just disappear. So we had to kind of quite a conversation that happened over a number of months to try and work out how I could go and do this. We came to an agreement, and then I kind of stepped aside from medical supermarket and kind of fully kind of ran with Snaffling Pig. Okay. And that 500 quid, I kind of spanked that so fast, like, really? As you'd expect. Yeah. I got a nice logo designed and some packaging, and it wasn't. I could have used that 500 quid a little bit better than I did. But what it did enable me to do was I bought some brown bags, and I poured some crackling into the bags. I took them down to the pub, and I made a profit on them from day one. Unlike the orange juice, each packet I was making money on, which meant that all that 500 quid did was just enable me to buy enough stock to then get some cash flow churning, and it went from there.
So really you were testing it and validating the concept, proving it, I guess. Proof of concept.
I am a huge believer in minimal viable product, and just get out there and test it, and we continually do that. We've got there's about 10 products that Snaffling Pig are working on at the moment, which are all kind of part of our like MVP, which you're almost a little embarrassed about them because they're in their infancy. The product is amazing, they look and taste great, but the packaging they're in is it's not up to standard. But that's part of its charm, and we're very open about that. And we give them to customers and say, look, this is a range that we're developing. You are the first to see this. It is not in the format it's going to be sold in, but we want to see if it actually works. Because if you focus all your attention on the actual product and worry about if it tastes good, looks good, does good, and then if that sells on its own, and then you add a really cool brand to it with all the kind of fluffiness that a brand brings, and that then surely sell really, really well. I think a lot of people worry about the brand and then just end up packaging a turd. Sure. And it's not going to sell because customers are clever. They'll buy it once and never buy it again.
Sure. I'm actually reading a book at the moment. It's called Packed, and they're saying that mock-up products is a good way of doing it. So have nothing in the box, just have a branded box, put it on a shelf in a supermarket, stand there and see if somebody's attracted by it. So see if you can compete on the shelf just with your branding. It's a good way of doing it. It's very cheap, obviously.
Yeah, very cheap.
Very good. So how did you get your first listing then? Your first significant listing, anyway.
The first significant, well, the very first listing was a pub, and I spent 4 hours packing flavoured pork crackling into brown bags. I made about 100 packs, took them to a local pub and sold, I think, 60 in the first pub, and then the last 40 in the second pub. So in about 40 minutes, we'd sold out, which I was really excited about, but devastated because I spent 4 hours making these bags, and I had to go back and make more. So it's a bit of a silly way to look at it, but that was our first customer. That was the 3 tons in Henley. The first significant customer was Rebellion Brewery, which is in Marlow, which is where I'm from. And I wanted to sell them packets of pork crackling. And they said no, because they had a supplier of pork crackling already. It was a local butcher. And they said something to me that really hits home, is that relationships are really important to them. And they're not just going to ditch their long-standing supplier just because there's a new kid on the block who's got a different way of, slightly different product. And I love that. I love the fact that someone was willing to say a relationship is more important than just something fancy and new and shiny. So they said the only thing they were going to do was they would buy the product from me if I could package it in a way that looked truly innovative. And that wasn't about just sticking it in another bag. That was like thinking a bit differently. So we went away, and about a week later we presented them with a glass jar. So instead of selling them a packet of crackling for £1, we sold them a glass jar for £15. Beautiful gift product, great value, looked really lovely, and they bought it. And then very quickly, they obviously were our biggest customer, and they continue to this day, one of our biggest independent customers out there, buying these lovely glass jars from us.
Okay, very good. So what challenges did you have then in starting up and getting to a level of scale? So was it more like getting listings, or was it an operational thing, or what were your big challenges?
There's so many. I think that's the
cash flow, I guess, is a serious thing.
Sends shivers down my spine. Cash. I think it's cash will kill you. No matter how good you are, everything else, cash will kill you. So that's always got to be the biggest focus of the company, and that has been such a focus of mine for the last kind of 3 or 4 years. We've recently crowdfunded and we've raised cash, and that has taken the pressure off in a different way. Now I have cash. I'm now petrified of losing it, so I'm almost a little bit tighter with it because I can't possibly lose it, and especially as it's other people's money. Before it was my own, so if I lost it, that's my own problem. But so I'm kind of more careful with cash than ever, really. There's so many other things. I've never worked in the food industry before. I didn't understand food health and safety. Obviously, allergens are such a scary thing. You never want to mess with people's health at all. There are things that you can do in business that are a little bit kind of fly by the seat of your pants. But when it comes to food safety, that's just a no-no. You have to play that directly down the line. So big learning for us was that. I think my biggest advice is stay away from allergens. Like, if you can, remove them completely from your company. Okay. The supply chain is always a worry. You can control your bit, but you're very reliant on other people doing their thing as well. And even if they're BRC accredited, does not mean that they are absolutely perfect. You've seen these scandals in the food industry. Tesco, Sainsbury's involved in things. When they look down at their supply chain, someone has let them down. So that kind of keeps me up at night as well.
Okay. What about your initial bulk orders, I suppose? Because obviously you need to commit to a minimum order of such, but you don't really have the cash or the commitment from the other side. It's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it?
It is, and
first
it's the
order.
gift of the gab.
Is it?
You've got to play the game. So you walk into a supplier's and you're going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and I'm going to sell more pork crackling than anyone else out there. And by the way, I need you to give me 60-day payment terms. And you have to take a minimum order. There's no way that you're going to want to take a container load of product. So we were just fortunate. We found an awesome manufacturer who really believed what we were trying to do, and they supported us, and they allowed us to buy in minimal quantities. And when I say minimal, we were buying cases. Like, we weren't buying even pallets.
Wow. Cases
of products, and that enabled us to see what worked. And we bought some product that didn't work. We did curry flavoured crackling, didn't work. Cranberry and orange flavoured crackling, didn't work. Fennel didn't work. Shame, because that was a nice product. But enabled us to keep trying lots of different things. And then what's happened now is that we're at a stage where that manufacturer couldn't support us at this level. So we've now had to introduce a new manufacturer as well. And then they work on different lead times and different kind of minimum orders. So we've had to learn from that as well. But there's so many things that keep me up at night and worried.
Sure. So you mentioned cash, and I know you went on to Dragon's Den relatively soon after you started. It's one of the success stories, and from me speaking to people, I hear like this kind of 50-50, like some are success, some are kind of bad PR even potentially. A lot of deals don't go through. Like, what was your, I guess first of all, what was your reason for going on? And from the success of it, I believe you got good PR, but yeah, what was your experience as a whole with that?
It was a great experience for us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise it for everybody.
Okay.
We were early enough in our venture that if we'd got negative PR and the business flopped because of it, we weren't that far down the line that it wouldn't have been the end of the world. We were like, oh, that was a good lesson to learn. We went into it very aware of what we were entering into. That, you know, that is it is a live environment, the Dragon's Den. Although it's an entertainment show on telly, but in reality, you know, when you walk into those into that lift, you are absolutely opening your kind of your books, all your risks to the world, and it will be online forevermore. So you have to make sure that whatever you state in the den, you live up to. If you give a 3-year sales projection, in 3 years' time, if you haven't hit it, everyone's going to know about it if they're that interested in it. So and half the deals that are successful in the den don't go through outside of the den as well. I think why we've been successful is that one, we managed to get a dragon who is actually a really nice guy. There's a lot of arseholes out there, and he isn't one. And he has been incredibly supportive of us. Nick Jenkins, he had a company called Moonpig. And at the very beginning of our relationship, he sat down and went, you know what, Nick, I'm not going to open any doors for you. I'm not going to do the job for you. I don't know anyone in the food world, so I can't really help you with supply chain. But what I am going to do is I'm going to bring a lot of financial management to the business. I'm going to help you structure the company in a way that means that you as a leadership team have the right resources around you. I'm going to make sure that you get to know your finances, get to know your profitability by customer, by channel, by product, and just bring a lot of that kind of grown-up mentality. He's almost like a father figure to the company, but he wasn't going to open any doors. And because he laid out exactly what he was going to do and what he wasn't, we didn't go into this relationship annoyed at, oh, he hasn't done that. We knew exactly what we were signing up to. And he's also kept quite an arm's length reach from us, because he knows that we love being entrepreneurs. And so the worst thing he could do is constrict us and tell us what to do, or bind us to some kind of board meeting that would bore the pants off me. Instead, he knows that I like to kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I like to suddenly do a board meeting next week and just go and do it in a pub and have a good chat about the product and the brand, rather than having structured that's every single quarter and we're going to go through all kinds of boring analysis. So
it's more like a mentor figure or somebody to kind of bounce ideas off.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Definitely. Do you have any other mentors, or is it
nothing formal? I
Okay.
mean, I love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I think I've learned something from pretty much every conversation I've ever had, no matter who that person is, what their background is, whether they're an entrepreneur or not. It doesn't matter. Everyone has something I can learn from, and so I don't really have a set mentor, but I guess I open my mind up to experiences and people and environments that kind of help me then apply that to my business, because everything can be applied back to the brand.
Sure, very good. So whilst we're on the cash topic, let's talk about crowdfunding. You mentioned it briefly there. Again, why did you choose to go down that option? And again, there's kind of mixed stories about it. Some are successful, some are not. There's some good PR, some bad PR. Why take that approach, and how was your experience with it? Because you were very successful. You raised £1 million.
That's right. Yeah.
Over £1 million.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So about a year ago, 18 months ago, I hated crowdfunding because I think there are a lot of brands out there taking the piss, and I think there's a lot of people who are setting unrealistic valuations on their company, and it's a cheap way for a brand to raise a lot of money, and I cannot understand how an investor would ever get their money back. And so I had this kind of negative perception of crowdfunding, and I think I think it's absolutely just. I think a lot of people might argue, but I think it's just. I think if you look at some examples out there, there are some valuations where people are saying their business is worth 16 times their turnover, and there is no way in hell they are ever going to be able to exit that company and create value for that investor. So I've always wanted to crowdfund, despite hating it, because I've always wanted to surround myself with hundreds, if not thousands, of brand ambassadors for the brand. I think in today's world, a brand shouldn't be owned by just one person. It should be owned by a community. It's part of that community, and everyone should have ownership of it. A bit like a pub. Yeah, I think your local pub, everyone should own your local pub, because they're the people who actually buy into it, and that's what they need. And we need people to buy our product. And that's the only way we can survive. And therefore, we need people to buy into the brand. And I wanted to get the brand to a point that when we went to crowdfund, we actually asked for a very fair valuation. So when we went, we asked for 2 times turnover. but actually is very, very fair and actually under-egged what a lot of the kind of the market says. Kind of in my kind of industry, it can be kind of 3 to 6 times turnover. So 2 times turnover, really, really fair. And we're at a point where we were profitable. We had some really good success stories in terms of our case studies, customers we worked with. And we built up a really good network. And I think the reason why our crowdfunding was successful is actually I didn't rely on the crowdfunding company, the people who ran it, to bring me any investors. I just worked on our existing network, our consumers, the people who bought on our website, our suppliers, our stakeholders, through my network, Udi's network, our staff's network. And we kind of worked that network and we got people involved that way. And then we launched, and within, I think it was in 7 days, we hit our target, which was 750. And then we ended up doing about 1.3 mil altogether from just shy of 2,000 investors.
Okay, so most of that came from your own networks as opposed to social media or gaining traction kind of externally?
I mean, I haven't done the analysis, but I would hazard a guess that of the 2,000 people, 1,900 have had an interaction with Snaffling Pig.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's very few that would not have heard of Snaffling Pig or bought it or,
Okay, very good. Would you do it again, do you think?
Would I, so not with Snaffling Pig, because I have made a promise to the shareholders that I will not dilute their shareholding by raising more money. I want to be really careful with the money they've invested. I want to invest it in our brand in the right way. I don't think for the things I want to do with Snaffling Pig, I don't think I need investment again within the next 3 to 5 years. I believe that the Snaffling Pig can get to a point where we would attract a bigger owner of the company to come in and take on Snaffling Pig, and then that's at the point when the investors can then exit should they wish to.
Okay.
But would I do it again? Yes, with another brand, but I would wait until, again, similar situation Snaffling Pig, I'd wait till that brand had proved itself and wasn't going to go bust. I mean, oh my God, I heard a horror story last week or a couple of weeks ago. There's a brand out there that raised hundreds of thousands of pounds, and within 18 months it had gone bust. Wow. And I just think that is disgraceful. It can happen, I know, but when you raise that kind of money, you have to be careful with it. You know, you're dealing with people's money, investments. They worked hard to earn that. Don't go spank it on a brand new car or a lovely billboard.
Sure, you got a responsibility for a lot of people.
Definitely, yeah. It's got 2,000 people who are going to be pissed off at me.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a lot of emails to receive.
It is. Very good. It sounds like Snaffling Pig's not going to be the end of Nick Coleman either. So like there's other ideas going on there. Yeah?
Never, no way. No.
Very good. If you got to talk about the current market and your thoughts on it, obviously it's super competitive to get into places and to, I guess, retain and maintain relevance to an extent. The world changing so quickly and Instagram, etc. What's your thoughts on the market as it stands? And also, I guess, touch on veganism and health, these trends continuing to grow so far anyway. How do you think, or what do you think of that space? And how do you fit into that?
So it has never been, I think, a more exciting time to be a small startup food brand. I think there's so much opportunity out there, and it's lovely to see people like Sainsbury's supporting small brands. You've got people like Whole Foods and Planet Organic who are giving these small brands a platform to showcase what they're up to, and then the bigger retailers can take them on. So it's a phenomenal time, and I think access to money is fantastic. You've got crowdfunding, you've got grants going on, you've got millennials who actually want to work for small brands and kind of cut their teeth on startups. So overall, awesome time. I don't think there could have been a better time. The market at the moment, there is a huge trend in health and veganism, and that's great. You know, fully supportive of that. There's always going to be counter trends to that, and right now the counter trend is indulgence and meat. So you are seeing a surge in that as well. What I love about Snaffling Pig is that we don't do things because everyone is doing it. You know, we when the world zigs, we zag. And that's not something I made up. Someone else made up that saying. But that is what Snaffling Pig is all about. We are unashamedly proud of who we are, and I think as humans we should just enjoy life, and we should just, you know, we can eat kale and whatever and go to the gym Monday to Friday, but on a Saturday, what's wrong with going and enjoying yourself, letting your hair down? What's wrong with going to the pub and having a couple of beers, or not even drinking, just being surrounded by mates and just enjoying life? And I think that the society throws all this, you know, negativity about you have to look a certain way, or you have to on Instagram, life's that's just not real life. I hate it. That's why I'm not on social media personally. So Snaffling Pig is all about helping people, what we call escape the grind of life, helping people enjoy those moments. So when every single brand, I think every single brand is trying to be vegan at the moment. Snaffling Pig is not. We are the guys who launched a gammon steak in Veganuary last year. We've got so many more meat products coming out, and we're all about high quality, high welfare, British pork, and being proud of that, and supporting those farmers, supporting the British rural infrastructure, and doing it in a fun, creative and authentic way. And there'll always be a market for that, as long as you'll kind of commit to your roots and your belief in your values. So I think it's an exciting opportunity. I'm pleased that people are talking about veganism, because that just means that when everyone is focused on here, we're the guys focused over here.
Okay, interesting, very good. I've wrote down a few of your brand extensions in terms of products. So obviously pork scratchings was the original. You also have advent calendars, gift pack for beers, sauces, gammon steaks, as you mentioned, and the list goes on. It's phenomenal, the level of creativity and innovation. And I guess that the fundamental point is you built a brand that can support all of these different products. So how did you, I guess, build a brand to enable you to extend to all these different lines of products? And how do you sell them? How do they remain connected and aligned with the brand?
I mean, we have my warehouse has over 300 products now. Now that's not 300 individual products, it's 300. It might be one core product, like the perfectly salted crackling is sold in a case of 6, a case of 12, a 24, it's got clip strips, a case of 50. But we do a lot of products out there. Everyone I speak to says to me, whoa, Pareto, 80-20, just focus on your core products and you'll do much better. I don't like that. I'm an entrepreneur. I like kind of doing all things and seeing what sticks, minimal viable product. So we started out selling pork crackling. We had a very good core product. It was flavored, it was double cooked, it was made in Britain, it was doing everything that the other pork crackling companies weren't doing. And then by wrapping a really exciting brand around it, just got people talking about it. And then what we did is we slotted in a beer next to it to kind of say, you're eating crackling, why don't you have a drink of beer alongside that? That started to sell. We then did a cider, that started to sell. We then thought, well, we're crackling, what about a nice dip to go with it? Well, apple sauce makes sense. Then, let's do a hot sauce. So that kind of spirals. Then you do gifting, and you kind of, let's actually, instead of selling a packet of crackling, let's do a jar of crackling. Instead of selling a beer on its own, let's put it as part of a gift pack. How do we now get consumers to eat this product once a day for an entire month? Well, an advent calendar would kind of do that job. And then you kind of get into more chilled products as well. So you've got gammon steaks, we've even got sausages, bacon, gammon joints. All these are launching relatively soon. And so we're in a very unique position that we're probably one of the very few brands that you can get us in the ambient snack aisle, you can get us in the chiller, you can get us in the pub, you can get us in John Lewis, you can get us in Tesco's. We're in so many channels. You buy us online direct, you can get a monthly subscription. I kind of want to hit a consumer at every moment of their potential day because that gives me another opportunity to sell to them.
Sure.
But it can't always be the same product, because no matter how much you like pork crackling, you do not want to eat that breakfast, lunch and dinner, Monday to Sunday. You're always going to want to introduce other things. So if I can make the most awesome bacon roll for your breakfast, the most incredible sausages for your lunch, the most amazing beer for your after work enjoyment, and then followed up with a packet of crackling, then you can actually enjoy Snaffling Pig throughout the day.
Sure.
I'm not going to be Virgin. You're not going to fly on a Snaffling Pig plane and go to a Snaffling Pig island. That's not us. We're all about food and drink, but we're about enjoying and indulgence and flavours, and there'll be products that will kind of tie into that.
Sure. And something tells me you don't have a very structured growth plan or business plan. Like from the beginning, this wasn't kind of set out. It's just an idea that comes, you test it. If it works, you go with it. If it doesn't, you lose it.
I don't know about you. I went to university. I studied business studies. I learned how to make the most boring business plan ever that was 30 pages long that you'd stick in your desk and never read again. For some reason, that's what business theory teaches you. In reality, a business plan should be a page. It should be really high level. It should ooze passion and innovation. The only thing that small businesses have is innovation. The big guys have distribution. It is our job to innovate, and it is our job to disrupt their distribution. And if we can do that through innovation, then we're going to win. And people like Unilever are going to want to buy us. So I started out, all I was concerned about was how to make the best pork crackling. And that was all I worried about. And then as you hit one risk or one hurdle, one celebration, you then move on to the next thing. And it's constantly a roller coaster of emotions. And I'm now at a stage where I actually do have my 3 to 5 year plan set out. It was in my investment deck that we pitched in crowdfunding, but it's still very high level because I know every conversation is going to lead to something potentially new and exciting. And I think if you're closed off to that, if you think all I'm going to do is make almond milk and that's all I am, then your category is only so big. But if you say I'm going to sell the most awesome food and drink, then my category is enormous. Yes, it means I'm going to have to work really hard at selling different channels, different categories. I'm going to have to really kind of, learn faster than everyone else because they're going to be experts in each of those categories. But me as a brand, Snaffling Pig, can translate into many different ways. And that's just how I've set the company up in the beginning.
Sure. And I guess because you have so many different products, the brand is kind of the father of all these. The brand and the quality and the perception of the brand is super important. That
Absolutely.
It is consistent.
Absolutely.
And that's fragile to an extent as well.
That's what keeps me up at night, the fragility of that. I mean, you might have the most awesome 198 products that we sell, but the apple sauce might let you down, and that consumer will try that apple sauce and never want to eat anything Snaffling Pig ever again.
Sure.
So everything we do has to be of the utmost quality, but it has to fit together, and it comes down to flavors, formats, and brand for us. We have to have really bold, punchy flavors that people go, wow, that tastes brilliant. It has to be in a really innovative format and exciting, and people look at that and go, that's pretty cool.
What do you mean by format? Is that packaging or
packaging? Yeah,
okay.
I mean that's just when you just use the same word over and over again.
Yeah.
So we call it format. So how a consumer will interact with that product. How do they see it? Is it a self-serve? Is it a jar? Is it a gift pack? Is it an advent calendar? Is it a pack of sausages that's sits on the shelf slightly differently? And then it's the brand. The brand then ties it all together, and that has to be really, really consistent. And there are some companies out there who have done it really well, like Innocent, phenomenal. You can just see their brand translate into all those different categories, and we're really trying to do that as well.
Okay, so how do you build that brand, and how do you maintain name consistencies? Is that a structured process, or
that's very structured?
Is it? Okay.
But it's very simple. I mean, our approach to it is not to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of it's a train of thought that you make every single category look different, or there's a train of thought you make everything look exactly the same. And then there's the consumer. If they see a pack of crackling or they see a pack of sausages, they're going to think Snaffling Pig. They're not going to have to think differently. So we're making everything look exactly the same, and that just makes our life a hell of a lot easier.
Okay. And the brand, I think the brand elements are quite closely based on your personality as well. So it's quite a natural thing for you to portray and personify. Think.
Yeah, I mean,
is that fair?
I specifically built this brand in my own persona because it's so much easier, because I can sell this product day in, day out because it's basically me. If I was to start a product that was targeted at a different type of person or had a different tone of voice, then it would be a bit more difficult. But I find that it was kind of part of the fun. I didn't put my name on the product because I don't want people to associate Snaffling Pig with Nick. It's Snaffling Pig is whatever they want it to be, but I'm not afraid to have my personality on the pack because that's what I know. I use the language that I use. I say mega, awesome, wicked. I'm a loser. That's what I say. So I think I'm just kind of bringing that out in Snaffling Pig and making it me.
Okay, very good. And in terms of your new products and the creative process, so when you have a product you think could work, how are you testing that out, and to kind of what level do you produce or brand or package before you decide, okay, we're going to run with it?
So the first thing is we are not chefs, so we surround ourselves with some amazing chefs. And when I say we, Udi and I, we're not chefs. And so we are not afraid to bring in this expertise, right? Tell us what flavors really work together. I love eating, but I don't know the science behind food, and that takes years and years of practice. So what flavors work really well? How can we make the product differently? How can we introduce it to a new consumer? A lot of women get put off by pork crackling because it's hard, and it's seen as quite a chauvinistic product. But what we've done is we've double cooked it, so it's softer but crunchier. And just by doing that, just brings a whole 50% more people into the category instantly. And so by surrounding ourselves with chefs who understand how to do stuff, once they've told us, right, this product is awesome, and this is how it's made, and and we see, right, there's an opportunity here, we'll go and test it as minimal viable product. We'll give it to our current consumers. We'll set up a stand. We'll go and sample it. We'll send it in the post to people who have bought product from us in the past. We'll give it to our friends and our family. And if people like it, well, let's go for it. And we just don't buy or build in bulk. We won't suddenly bring a container load in. We'll just start really small. Let's just do a very small batch. We'll lose money on every single one, a bit like the orange juice jar. We'll lose a couple of quid on every single product, but we'll get some really valuable kind of intel here. And I'd much rather sell a product and lose a few quid on it and learn than spend tens of thousands of pounds getting a market research company to interview 20 people and tell me something that I probably already know.
Okay, interesting. And in terms of your, I guess, the distribution channels, I know you sell online as well, and your website as well. How important is that side of the business, and do you see that growing as well?
Yeah. So we have 4 channels. We have grocery, which is shops. We have on-trade, which is pubs. We have gifting, which is split into direct and indirect. So direct is our own website, indirect is kind of through like John Lewis, Selfridges, Debenhams. And then we have a 4th channel, which is kind of export really for us. But the 3 core channels, each one is absolutely vital. Online is continues to play a bigger role. It's a great forum to have like a direct relationship with the consumer. You can have a lot of fun with them. People buy into the brand when they buy it online because they see it in all its glory, in all its detail. They see the website, they see the parcel arrive, they see all our literature inside. So they get a much better interaction. When they walk through Tesco's and they make a very kind of quick buying decision on whether they have that packet or that packet, they're probably not bought into the brand as much. But someone's physically had to go to a website, enter their card details. That's taken quite a decision-making process. So we put a lot of money behind that. And then pubs is kind of where I think where brands are made. You go to a pub, you're going probably for the main reason you're going is to have fun. And you're going, and when you're there, you're willing to spend a little bit more money and have a really great experience. So it might be getting a different type of drink that you normally have at home. It might be maybe even paying for a cocktail where there's a particular serve experience. And when it comes to snacking, it's kind of 2 pints of lager and now a packet of crisps or packet of scratchings, packet of nuts. It's kind of like an additional thing. It's not, you don't go there just for the snacks, you go there for something else.
Sure.
So if we can have an interaction with our consumers there, we will be kind of tagged on to this lovely environment, lovely situation they're having. And subconsciously, they'll start to think of Snaffling Pig as, oh, that's the brand I had when I had that great night out, or that awesome cocktail, or that lovely dinner. And it's kind of that subconsciously we're now within their kind of their buying decision.
Okay.
So for us, pubs and online are absolutely vital.
Okay. So that's almost the first steps, as having that physical interaction, and then when they become kind of invested in the brand, maybe literally, then they come onto the website, and then they're kind of more tied into the brand.
So yes, but how we actually did it is we couldn't get into pubs. Well, we got into pubs straight away, but that was only a few, and we couldn't get into retailers. So we had to invest all our money into online. So we built up a really good consumer base online, and then we use that as a case study to get into the retailers and into the supermarkets, because they want to know if they put you on the shelf, that shelf space is so precious to them, and it's worth a certain amount of money, because they will have to delist the current brand, and they know how much money that brand is making them. So they need to know that it's low risk for them to introduce someone else, and that they're going to make more money from that space. And so if you've got a case study to say, I'm online and I'm selling to X thousands of people, and this is the average sell price, and this is how many times they buy the brand, and that if you do get into that shop, potentially you can get your army of online buyers to go into their local shop and buy it physically. The retailer is going to kind of be much more warm to putting you on the shelf. Okay.
So how did you initially then drive the traffic to your website? If you worked in supermarkets,
hard. I mean that's using kind of Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, Google ads, and just word of mouth, and just kind of beating the drum and like telling your friends and family about it and getting them to buy a gift. And I think for us, when because online is predominantly gift based, you're getting the consumer, you're getting the customer to buy the gift, and then they're going to be giving it to the consumer. So you're getting 2 people to kind of see that brand. And what happens when you buy a gift is there's an emotional connection between the gift giver and the gift receiver. And the person who gives the gift actually gets more out of it than the person who gets the gift. Because I think, I don't know about you, but when I get given a gift, I feel kind of embarrassed. that when I give a gift, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, look at this is amazing.
Yeah.
So we're actually kind of got two people there that we're kind of playing into, and we're involved in that emotional connection that's being built between the two as well. So it's gifts for us is such a huge part of our business, and why we've been able to build the brand that we've been able to.
I know your advent calendars are super successful. What an idea!
Oh, it's amazing. I can't claim all credit for that because about 4 years ago, we bought a Lily's Kitchen advent calendar for our dog Fudge, and it's a little cockapoo. And every day I had this lovely interaction with my cockapoo. I gave her a little treat out of the advent calendar. Her tail wagged, and I just loved it. For 24 days, I had this lovely interaction. And 24 days, that advent calendar stared at me on the mantelpiece, and I kept thinking, oh, tomorrow I get to give Fudge another little treat, and she'll love it. And it just hit me like a train. I was like, oh my gosh, this could be Snaffling Pig, pork crackling advent calendar. And we could have these kind of little interactions with our consumers every single day.
Very cool.
And so that's what we did. And we did it before advent calendars became kind of famous. So ours has been out for about 4 years, I think.
Okay.
And everyone's doing it. It's highly competitive.
Sure.
So we've now got the next thing, which we will launch this Christmas, but I can't say anything about it.
Okay. You'll have to come back.
It's still early in the year, and people can copy.
Very good. You mentioned supermarkets there. Be good to get your thoughts on, I guess, structuring when and which supermarkets to go into, how you got into them. I know you mentioned online as well, and also controlling your margins and making sure you're going in at the right margins. So what are your thoughts in general on that?
Supermarkets they're tough. They're easier to win and very easy to lose. So just because you've won one doesn't mean you've made it. Supermarkets, they will always concern me because they don't just come with a couple of stores, they come with thousands of stores, and your entire business will change overnight the moment you've won a supermarket. So it's really important that if you do win one, that you're able to lose them without impacting your current business. Because imagine if you'd won, say you won Tesco's, and it doubles the size of your business overnight. You double your team, you double your infrastructure, your capacity, your warehouse, all your cooking methods all double, and then in the next range review it hasn't sold. And that's no fault of Tesco's, that's probably the fault of your own brand, because consumers don't get the packaging, or you haven't built a product that they want to buy again, and so you get delisted. Then what are you going to do with that infrastructure? So it's for me, it's really important that we built a brand that the supermarkets were kind of the icing on the cake. And I mean, what supermarkets we went for, we are very true to we are pork crackling. Yeah, we're the everyday snack. We are not posh. We're a premium snack, but we're not exclusive. We're not expensive. We're just good value, and for the everyday person. And the everyday person shops pretty much everywhere. So they will shop in Lidl and Aldi, and occasionally they'll go to Waitrose, and they'll go to Tesco's and Sainsbury's, whatever's closest to them most likely. So we wanted to be in kind of all of the above really. But I think it's really important that we build a product that is suitable for each supermarket. And because what I don't want to do is have the same product in everywhere. You can't buy our packet of crackling in Sainsbury's, in Tesco, in Selfridges, in John Lewis, online, and in a pub. We won't allow that, because if you go to a pub, we want you to be able to get a slightly different product to what you're going to get in Tesco's. And that doesn't mean a worse product or a better product, it just means a different type of product. So we do Pig of Doom in pubs. Pig of Doom is incredibly spicy. It's a little mini pack of crackling. It's the hottest chili that we can possibly make in a dry seasoning. It is so good in a pub because it's all about that kind of chili challenge. And you have a packet and you will down a pint of milk like instantly. We'll also do our marvellous maple, our salt and vinegar. We'll do our Coleman's mustard, our black pepper. So, but in a supermarket, we'll do our scratching and we'll do our perfectly salted products. In Sainsbury's, we'll do our multi-bag, which is 6 packs. In Selfridges, we'll do our jar of crackling and we'll do our gift pack. In John Lewis, we'll do an apple sauce and a jar of crackling in a lovely gift pack, or we'll do our 3 little jars together. So you can't get the same product in every single shop. And it also ensures that we don't start competing on price. We don't have a price war. We don't get Sainsbury's and Tesco trying to fight it out like they do with some more of the commodity type products. And it also gives the consumer choice. It means that if they do go into Tesco, they can get that product, but if they happen to go to a different store, they'll get something else.
Okay. Is it more for that choice rather than targeting the individual demographics or or consumers, or it's both, I guess?
It's both, yeah. And it's kind of, it's being aware of, we're very honest about who we are. We are not going to sit well in certain retail environments. You couldn't sell our packet of scratchings in Selfridges. I mean, it's just not right. People don't go to Selfridges for a packet of scratchings. They go for something more exciting, something they wouldn't get like in a normal convenience store. So that's why we have to give that consumer something that's kind of a lot more premium. And really, how do you make scratchings premium is you have to make them into a gift. You can't, I mean, maybe you could put truffle on scratchings, but I think that's it's a bit much. I think the beauty about scratching is it's just unashamedly proud of what it is. It's a very simple product, because you really only take one piece of pig skin and you fry it for 30 minutes. That's literally all you can do. So you've got nowhere to hide. So for us, the way we make it premium is we display it in ways that people see value in, and they think, actually, putting it in a gift set like that and adding exciting flavours to it is worth something. It's worth going to Selfridges for.
So in going into supermarkets, and again, I guess structuring which supermarkets to go into first, did you consciously choose independence before you went into the bigger chains, or how did you go about that process?
So I always wanted to get into a supermarket, but it was just about when, and just make sure I didn't go too early. Because I think if you win a supermarket and you're not ready for it, and you lose it, are you ever going to get it back? That was my nervousness, and you could kill the brand. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to build enough of a support around Snaffling Pig in the background with other channels, so like pubs, like shops, and get to kind of iron out all my mistakes, learn from what is working and what isn't working, understand about kind of economies of scale, and trying to get my operations to a point that actually I could be competitive in a supermarket, and just getting a little bit more grown up, making sure that we were accredited. SALSA accreditation was really important. And so we didn't approach a supermarket until about 1.5 years, 2 years into the journey, at which point I think it took us another year to actually land the supermarket, if I remember rightly. So we're kind of about 3 years from idea of Snaffling Pig to actually being listed in the supermarket before we got there. I know a lot of people, and in that period of time, we were probably turning over about 1.5 to 2 million quid. I know a lot of brands who will just win Tesco on day one, and that will be their only customer. And for me, that's like, whoa, you're going to learn very quickly, and there'll be expensive mistakes if you get it wrong. I mean, imagine if you got your packaging wrong and having to do a recall. It'd be horrendous. When we got our packaging wrong in the beginning, which we did, we spelt paprika wrong in our ingredients. I mean, we missed out on R. But we learned and we fixed it. We fixed it within a couple of days because we only had a very small print run that we'd done. So it was really easy for us to stick a sticker on the back of a packet. You couldn't stick a sticker on the back of a packet in Tesco. Sure. It'd all come off the shelf and you have to reprint. Sure.
So it's scaling up at the right time and going into the right place at the right time. Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, you're chomping at the bit to sell. Sure. So you have got to think you're going against your natural ability and kind of inclination to want to sell as fast as you can. Sure. But it's knowing when to go and when to put the brakes on and when to go forward is a really important job to learn.
Okay. And you mentioned operational scale up as well, and being able to cope with kind of growing. Were you growing sideways and upwards quite quickly? How do you manage that internally, and how do you hire the right people at the right time as well? And I guess managing the cash for that as well.
It's interesting. The very first person you employ is a huge step, and so I employed a bookkeeper because that enabled me to not do the job I hated. I hate bookkeeping, I hate accounts, hate chasing cash. So that was great. So that got rid of a problem for me. Then the next people we employed were customer service people, account managers, because that enabled me to continually sell, but ensure that my customers were being spoken to on a regular basis, ensure that when people phoned the office, there was someone there to take the order, ensure that when there were minor problems that they could get sorted by that team. Then about 1.5 years into the journey, Udi left Medical Supermarket and came over to Snaffling Pig. So I kind of had my kind of partner in crime again, and that meant that I had this ability to kind of halve my job. He then focused on operations and finance, and I worried about sales and marketing. And then we did that for about 2 years. I always get confused about timing, so it all seems to merge into one giant year. But I think we did that for about 2 years. And then actually about beginning of January this year, we then split the roles again. So I have stepped aside from sales, and now I do marketing and operations and finance, and Udi just does sales. And we're now really into the swing of it, because we are so comfortable in those roles. It's naturally where we fit, that enables him to just focus purely on sales and kind of just run with it, and enables me almost to support him. All my functions are just helping him do what he needs to do.
Okay. And how do you find personally, like, getting that work-life balance? Is that a challenge for you, or something you can quite easily deal with?
When you're an entrepreneur, there is no work-life balance. There's just life, and work is so entwined into your everyday life that if you were to separate it, I think you would get frustrated. I mean, I don't go to the office at the weekends, but I think about the business. I email. I'm researching all the time. I'm forever, when I get home from the office or from a customer, and my kid's gone to bed and we put a movie on, I'll look at my phone and I might do some research on a different country or a different category, or just do some reading about business in general. So I think it's don't separate it, embrace it. It's part of who you are. Snaffling Pig is very ingrained in my blood.
Sure.
I can't switch off.
Sure. If you're so passionate about it, anyway, it's a positive.
Exactly. It's a hobby.
Exactly.
It's a hobby I get paid for.
Sure.
It's great. I'm in a great position.
Sure. Is there one thing now that you know now that you wish you had known when you're starting out Snaffling Pig, about the business or yourself, even your skill sets, or what you should focus on maybe?
I think the one thing is, I've made lots of mistakes, and I'm glad I have made every single one of those, because as painful as they were when they were happening, they've got me to where I am today. And I am by no means, I guess, successful as my brand is not that well known in the grand scheme of things. But I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of the team we have. I'm proud of the product that we've got. And so I'm successful in that way. I go to work every day proud of what I'm doing, regardless of whether people know me or not, know the brand or not. That's secondary. So and I know I will make lots more mistakes to come, because that's just naturally who I am. But if I was to kind of, if I could go back in time, I think I would tell myself to enjoy the moments a little bit more. Is that everything takes twice as long, maybe 3 times as long as you think it's going to take. That first business plan you write, where you think you're going to be a millionaire in year 2, doesn't happen. Cash is the most important thing, and just, if you don't understand financial accounts, get a really good accountant, get a bookkeeper, get an FD. Probably going to cost you more money than you really want to be spending, but they are absolutely critical to that business. And I guess one more point is just get out there and sell. I have sold. I'm always selling, and I just think some entrepreneurs, they think that they're in their office tapping out emails constantly, they'll sell, but they won't. They need to be out on the street. They need to be walking into pubs, walking into shops, seeing where their customers are, and selling to them physically, rather than just, how do I make my website look even cooler? Because is that really going to sell your brand?
Sure. Okay. And what about somebody, let's say, who has an idea for a food product? What advice would you give them to kind of get the wheels turning and maybe test the product, get the MVP on the way? What advice would you give? Well,
the entrepreneurs that ask me, they've got this great idea, and how do they take it to the next step? I think they worry about that next step. They get so daunted by it. I'm making brownies in my kitchen. How can I possibly make brownies on a national scale? Don't worry about that yet. Just sell the brownies you're making, and as soon as you've sold the brownies you're making, then make some more. And at the point that you can't physically make any more, you will find, the stars will align. You will find someone who can make a bigger batch for you, and then when they can't make any more, you'll find someone who makes a bigger batch. But I think so many entrepreneurs worry about 3 years down the line. Don't worry about that. Just worry about tomorrow. Literally, just get through today, sell as much as you can, and then get to tomorrow, and then figure it out tomorrow. There'll always be another problem around the corner. You don't have to solve them all now. Just worry about what's critical to you today.
Very good. Good advice. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Nick.
Thank you.
And your personality, it's so clear, it's intertwined with the brand, and it's so obvious you're having fun as well. So best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks very much.